Welcome back, Screamers, to another round of Zero.Point reviews. I am Jeff, joined as always by my co-host Kevin. We got Return of Swamp Thing, 1989 sequel to the original by Wes Craven. This time it's directed by Jim Wynorski. All right, Kevin, what'd you think of this one?
This movie's a choice. I like this movie. I really do. We won't make any pretenses as to what it is, which is really cheesy. But this movie has had a special place in my heart ever since it first came out. I dug it. It has monsters.
Yeah, it's a good set of monsters. Like the practical effects are really incredible in this movie, actually. So everybody's suit looks way better than what they had going in the first one, at least.
Oh gosh, yes. Like the first thing you really notice is, detail upon the suits. Even within the leech, you could see inside his mouth. But Swamp Thing, he's completely organic looking at this point. It's not just a wetsuit with a vine here and a vine there. They put a whole bunch of moss on his suit this time and made it look good.
Yeah, they really did make it look good. And I really appreciated the effort they put into that because he also looked a lot more hulking, a little more intimidating this time around, even though he's not really all that intimidating per se in this movie. He just goes around and sometimes beats up guys and sometimes makes quips like he's some sort of like knockoff Spider-Man.
Yes, that's something that I had to make a differentiation on. This is not a horror film. This is most certainly a superhero film. Right down to the score. Anytime he does something or he comes on screen, what is it right here? Which the return of Swamp Thing happens within the first 5 minutes of the movie, which is nice. But as you're saying, he comes out as this big looming Hulk, not the skinny looking guy, and he's much more impressive looking. That's as far as what they did with the budget, as far as it all went into art, nothing as far as writing.
Oh, was it all the art that they used for the comic book panels in the opening credits?
Well, actually,
even though that was dope, I really liked that. That was really nice to see because this only came out if I remember right, just a few weeks before Batman did when it in '89 when it came out.
Did it really?
Yep.
I did not.
I could double check, but I seem to remember it was the month before Batman came out.
Oof. Well, I took a screenshot of the one shot where they open up with Swamp Thing. This is probably the best one, I think, or my favorite of the intro credits. But what cool. I like about it is they're basically saying, this is what Swamp Thing looks like. Look at our Swamp Thing. It looks just like that. And to a large degree, it does. He looks really cool for the most part.
Oh, yeah.
But to your point with the quips and whatnot, this was the extent of his mobility. He gets to cock his head back and look at people. And that was about as much mobility as they can give Dick in this suit.
Yeah, he did what he could. He still was physically impressive. And I appreciated everything I saw out of Dick in this movie. And even having Jourdain back as Arcane was really nice to see, even though it took him a while to get to the point of how's he even back. I thought he died in the first one. I want to say it was 45 minutes before it was even alluded to. Oh yeah, we rescued him from the swamp. He had already been axed, and we brought him back and we resurrected him. It's okay, now you give me the explanation as we're already more than halfway through the movie. That's one thing I wasn't a fan of, but whatever.
No, you're right. And another thing is you're left to ask exactly who is Abby Arcane and why have we never heard of her before? And the best that I can come up with, and I guess maybe this is just me stretching things along, is this is the blonde lady's daughter from the first movie. The lady that was basically his henchwoman.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I'd called her Airhead before, but I want to say I'm guessing that's supposed to be her daughter. I don't know. I liked the Abby Arcane that we saw in the TV series a lot more than the Abby Arcane that we see here.
Yeah, that's the 2019 show. We haven't actually revisited the one from the 90s that came after this.
True. But I'm looking forward to that when we eventually get to it. But yes, the 2019, aside from it being a lot more serious, the character was just a lot better written, better performed, more interesting.
Yeah.
This, again, was a comic book kid movie. Abby didn't have the same presence that, say, Cable did.
Yeah, this was definitely more on the campy side. So they definitely cast her in a certain way and wrote her role a certain way. Like, I totally appreciate the 2019 show way better myself. For the purposes of this movie, she actually kind of fits right in with the dumb blonde aspect. That's kind of a character she played, even though she would later do like Melrose Place, which was a lot more evil, vindictive of a character for her, which, you know, maybe that fit her a whole lot better. I mean, she wrote that long enough in that show, but Heather was, I don't know, she felt really out of place in this movie. I want to say even Monique Gabriel, one of the henchman ladies, was way more captivating and engaging than Heather was. Like, she was hooking up with the other like evil henchman guy. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting names, but like the fact that they had a little story going on was way more interesting.
Oh, are you talking about Mr.
Yep.
Gunn and Miss Poinsettia?
Yes.
Yeah, I liked
They were
them.
fun. I had a fun time watching whenever they were on screen. I'm like, hey, this is kind of fun.
Yes, like they are the comic relief in a way. They're not the only comic relief, but they're not forcefully cheesy and stupid. Like, they are a lot of fun to watch. They are intentionally cheesy,
Right.
but it works and they're entertaining. The fight that they have, where like who's got the best scar or the worst scar, whichever way you want to look at it,
That
and who's
was
going to take
so
whose
funny.
job. Yeah, that worked. I really liked it.
Yeah, and it actually kind of was the flame for their little romance. They were about to start getting it on, and they got interrupted. It's like
Interrupted.
that's what the arch villain should be being like.
This,
Oh yeah, that's the bite mark from
was that like Led Zeppelin tour or some shit like that, or
yeah, something like that, yeah.
Motley Crue?
Backstage at the concert, they were a little rough.
That was awesome. Like, they were fun. A lot of this was fun. Not much of this was so cheesy that it was unenjoyable for me. I don't know about you, but like even the kids in this, I greatly I don't want to say I greatly enjoyed them, but I grew up being the same age, so it's like they didn't bother me at all.
Yeah, that didn't bother me too much. As an adult, I would have liked this movie to have been a little bit different, but I do appreciate and enjoy for what it is. The comedy was fun. You know, it was well paced. It moved right along. It didn't feel like it was dragging too bad. Maybe a little bit during the third act, but I had the same problems with the last movie too. But you know, I had a fun time watching this one. I didn't regret it, and I own like the MVD Rewind Blu-ray, and so I haven't really checked out like all the extras. But I've had this for a while. This is actually my second watch of this, and this is it's got a fun little case going on. For our video YouTubers, I am showcasing off the Blu-ray set. It's got a poster inside too. Reversible cover art.
I almost turned mine inside out, but I was like, I like the black one. I like the black one. But it is, and the transfer is beautiful, by the way.
Yes, it's very good. Highly recommend. We'll have a link down below. We have an Amazon affiliate program, so if you go through that link, that would be totally cool too.
Do we now? I'm down with that.
Yep, just sign us up for it.
Talking about
Breaking
or going
news.
back to Louis Jordan, he's feeling much better now. Like, he
Much
doesn't
more
look like
human.
yeah, he's not the armadillo pig merkin thing anymore.
Whatever the thing. I'm surprised he didn't have a sword attached to his hip when he got resurrected.
That would have been funny. Like ready to go out and fight the Scottish wars or what have you.
Yep.
But I love how it's like he has to recreate Holland's formula or his body's going to deteriorate completely. And you kind of have to think to yourself, well, dude, that's the same thing for all of us. Like,
Right.
I guess just maybe you more rapidly. I'm not sure. But Luis Jordan, he did not necessarily phone this in. Like, he had a lot of say-so in what he would be saying, what he would be doing, if he had disagreements of how the script was written. Like, I want to say Miss Poinsettia, they were supposed to be calling her points in reference to her nipples or something like that.
Oh,
And he
okay.
found it distasteful. So it's like he refused to give the line. And that basically only Mr. Gunn calls her that, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you say that, and it reminds me of like Jim Wynorski actually did not get along with Luis very well.
He didn't.
No, for some reason they just did not click or get along. I don't think Jim really wanted him in this movie, but if I remember right, it had something to do with the producers, and somebody absolutely insisted that you got to bring back Dr. Arcane, Louis Jourdain, and that was part of the reason it got funded to begin with, was he had to come back, and Jim had to unfortunately contend with that. I don't know why you'd have a problem with them, but maybe it was just a fundamental disagreement on, hey, I wanted to have a different villain, I wanted Venom. I didn't want Sandman, kind of a reverse
I could see
Spider-Man thing.
that. Yeah, or and again, our knowledge up until recently had nothing to do with the comic books. It only went to these movies. Like,
Right.
is Arcane the equivalent to Lex Luthor? I could see them wanting to keep it in that regard. But yeah, the how he became to be that way, the exposition of it was very brief, and it took a long time to get to.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but at least we did ultimately get an explanation about that.
Yeah. It made sense.
Just required a little
Although,
bit of investment sitting through the movie, that's all.
yes, if you can get past the fact that Heather Locklear owns a floral boutique and not the lady
And
that was
ditches
sitting
it
there
within
like,
30 seconds.
what's that?
And she ditches it within 30 seconds, and we never see it again.
Yes. And I didn't even realize that it was her shop until this last viewing. There's a neon sign that says Abby's up on the wall. I'm like,
Yep.
oh, I thought it was Eunice's store. 30 years. And I'm like, oh, okay. I guess it is her. How did she get the arcane money or something? I don't understand.
She might have, but it was kind of funny, like when she shows up and Arcane's like, it's my stepdaughter. Like, I haven't seen her in years. What the hell is she doing here? Oh my god, oh my god. And all of a sudden he sees like opportunity for his formula and everything, and instead of like, oh hey, it's my stepdaughter. It feels more like the kitty science. So I'm like, oh, I can't wait to cut into that.
Yes. And he shows a sincere interest in her. And I want to say he even says, I don't want to harm her, but it just kind of happens to be that I have to do it that way. So,
right.
And yeah, he shows zero remorse. I want to say, what was her name? Laura or Dr. Zarel had said that you always seem amused by everything, no matter if it's an obstacle or not. You're always amused. And he does kind of come off that way, like beyond being written that way. Like he was portrayed that way.
He does have a very nice attitude about him in this movie, like way more arrogant and cocky a little bit. I enjoy it.
Yes. the character was the same in the first one in the regard that like everything was over the top classy.
Right.
The organ that he was playing was somehow like had pipes all up in the background, like 20 feet away from him. But that was the pipe organ that he was playing. And when I was growing up, I always thought that was cool. Like the classy bad guys were like Arcane, could play the organ and just smart. It came off really smart and classy, and he does live the same way. He's got the secret passages, the long tables. He's got the candles in every single room lit up again.
The true supervillain fashion.
Yes, the only thing that was different, I don't want to skip too terribly far ahead, but it was great.
No capes.
Is the no capes? Did I even get it? Oh, barely even. Where is it? Right here. You can barely see the background. The science lab, this is skipping way far ahead, is much better than the dungeon that he had in the first movie. It's like there was the nice candelabras, beautiful candles, and a nice throne, and then the rest of it's like chains in a dungeon. They were a lot more upscale in this one.
Yeah, overall the aesthetic was very good. The cinematography, a lot of the set building, world building was a lot better. We got more than one villain creature. We actually got almost several of them, humans to monsters. We had a nice variety going on for Swamp Thing, and it was nice to actually see him kind of working off of more than just 3 or 4 characters. And I don't mean Abby, because him working off of her was more like tantamount to watching a weird version of Demolition Man when those two were hooking up. So,
well, let's take a quick peek at this guy. I love the little leech monster here. They don't necessarily explain him a whole lot, but there's not a lot to explain other than the fact that they meshed one of their employees with a leech, and he escaped and is now like sucking the blood out of people that happen to be going through the swamp near Arcane's property. And he was gruesome looking. He was completely wet. He's got teeth inside all around the mouth, blood dripping down from each one of those teeth. And he was just menacing looking. Until you get to see his pants. Where is it?
You look like a ripoff from something from Incredible Hulk in that kind of way.
Yes. Is it here? I want to say, because it's nice and bright. Because they had a big fight between Swamp Thing and this creature. No, that wasn't it.
Shocking.
Yeah, this was something altogether. Like they're beating the bag off each other with like staffs, like you'd see in either Hobgoblins or Robin Hood. And they all start like sparking and smoking and turning into lightning. It's like, oh, because sticks do that. Okay. Here it is. You could barely see this guy's wearing slacks.
Where's that belt holding that up, or the suspenders, yo?
Kinda like, you know what he reminds me of is the Metaluna character, the big mutant from This Island Earth that had the teal slacks on. That's kind of what he reminds me of. But I love the fight scene. And yeah, I had to make the giggle about it, like the thick thing. I didn't notice that at first. Like, really, I was going for the shot of the belt line and the leech monster because he looks so fucking ridiculous. I didn't realize those cabbage heads were ripe. Shit.
Always going for the ass shots. Always going for the ass shots. Well, you brought up Dr. Zernell earlier, and I thought she was fantastic. I love Sarah Douglas, and she's done quite a few wonderful roles through the years. So I thought that was well cast, and I also liked her character arc that she eventually came around to, hey, let's get Abby the fuck out of here. None of this is going to end up working anyway. So, c'est la vie.
Yeah, that kind of sucked for her. Like, it's the same old thing when you see with the bad guys. Like, we saw the same thing with Nix. Like, he wanted Kevin Anderson to be with them until the end, until he was the last one. did not actually care for Kevin Anderson necessarily. Same thing here. Arcane doesn't, he enjoys Lara's company as well as her body and her mind, but she's not a necessity for him. And she did, for whatever reason, she didn't think that was the case. She thought she was different, special.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, she has that change of character from eavesdropping, hearing Dr. Rochelle, who's more mercenary than the actual mercenaries in the movie.
I know, that's what I thought too when I was watching this. I'm like, man, that guy's kind of brutal. Why isn't he the number one henchman?
Kinda like he is really the mad scientist to this. Like, he's not mad in the sense that like he's gonna do all these weird, crazy things, because yes, he is, but he's very like passive about it. Like, there is no ramification to turning people into like half man, half elephant creatures.
Man, and if they didn't turn out quite right, boy, did they vaporize those fuckers to death.
Yes, like they had that giant microwave oven.
That's what it felt like to me. I wanted to call it like a little microwave oven, even though it was more like electricity, like zooming at them. But
yes, kinda. But see, and that was again one of the good things about this movie is that when they showed you the creatures, they were fantastic looking. They were scary looking. And they added to that look with the proper sound foley's that just sounded wet and disgusting and like the animal was in pain.
right.
And that was one thing with the elephant.
So cool. Was that insect one?
Yes, this was just amazing looking. Like, they did a good job just on the face, the help me type of voice that was so reminiscent of the original Fly.
I would say that was done on purpose, because for our audio listeners, this is the insect creature that's the first one to get vaporized in the vaporization chamber.
Yes, the cockroach, which I thought it was an ant at first, but yeah, he said it. In fact, it's a common cockroach. Why you'd want like an army of mutant cockroach people is beyond me. Like,
the cockroaches are already going to outlive us all anyway.
Yeah, right. So maybe that's why it took so long for that thing to evaporate, was because it was a cockroach.
Maybe.
I did not think of that.
Not the best roach mortality you could get.
It wasn't as gross as Nightmare 4, but it was still pretty gross. But true. I like that. Yes, it's supposed to. I don't know if it wasn't supposed to look campy, because it didn't necessarily. I mean, I thought it looked cool. I wish you still saw movies like this with that type of practical effects or with the creatures. They don't make them like this much anymore, and it's fun.
Yeah, do you think that they actually could have gone with a third Swamp Thing movie along these same lines? You know, do you think they might have stuck with like this kind of like comedy routine, you know, the cheesiness? I think maybe there was a possibility for it, but I actually don't know how well this did at the box office. I could always look that up.
Oh, I've got it for you right here, my friend. Right here. This movie cost $4 million to make. $4 million. It grossed 192,816. Excuse me, 192,816. That was
they
not
blew the budget on that one. Wow. That just seems like really low. No wonder why it didn't. I mean, if you start looking at like the ratings online, it basically gets like 4 to like 5 out of 10 most places. I don't know what Rotten Tomatoes is. Rotten Tomatoes 44% on 9 votes. I think we need some more votes on this one.
This
down votes.
Very down votes. This was similar. It was 4. God damn it. You're fucking me up. This had 4.6 stars out of 10 in IMDb. So I guess that's roughly the same or similar. And it's better than that. Like, it's not as solid of a story as, say, the first movie was. It's not as solid of a directorial picture as the first one was, but it is just as much fun. Like, you take the last 10-15 minutes of the first movie and you just kind of spread that out in this one, and it's kind of what this one is. You have more of the monsters, you have Swamp Thing fighting the monsters, you have like the heroic music happening, the love interest, which is really kind of gross.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show it. I don't care. I did not mind the kids. The kids, again, they were a fun part of this movie.
They were almost part of the comic relief as well. They really didn't play a role in any of the plot specifically, and it was actually funny. Like, they were friends, and they were trying to, check out Dad's nudie magazines that were stashed, and then once they dropped the box, and then they had to like shove them under like the couch cushions, the rugs, because they thought it was somebody coming home, and it just ended up being the leech creature.
Yeah, right. And wanting in on some of that shit too. But like, really, these kids were interesting enough that I stopped caring about what Heather Locklear was doing. And then once they showed this scene here, I had no
Did you recognize
whatsoever.
some of those magazines, Kevin?
Maybe my aunt, a couple of my cousins, maybe. I
That's not really what I asked, but okay.
This picture here, I love this so much. The smile on his face.
Well, and the funny part about that, not just the smile, but like the banner for the magazine, Young and Easy, right over the boobs. Most of those magazines, when they were out, they did not have a banner over those boobs.
No, they didn't. Like,
Just
you could tell there's tape over that.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back to the romance interest beyond the Young and Easy, the plant debacle or sex scene was really gross. Like, he takes a bit off of his bits and pieces, and they
both got to nibble it.
Yeah, and she's sitting there staring at it, and you're kind of like, is she gonna? Is she gonna? And you're like, oh, she did. Gross. Yuck.
She was way too eager to get friendly with him.
It was almost like alarming, even to him. He's like, boyfriend.
He's like, no. That was kind of the flip of what you would expect, but she was all way too eager. Like, there was honestly, let's be frank here, there was no chemistry between the two in the slightest. And I would not blame that on Swamp Thing and Dick DeRock. I would put that squarely on Heather Locklear. The way she played that, the way she was probably directed to play that, and just however the script was, there was just no chemistry between the two, and it was horrendously forced, almost to a comic degree. So if you want to watch this movie and you're really in it for Heather, you might want to have a couple drinks or get into something else before you start watching this, because this ain't Melrose Place.
No, but if you do, make sure that you bring a designated driver with you.
Because don't let Swamp Thing drive.
Don't let Heather drive.
Let either of them drive.
She's got to blow into the machine to make it start.
That's the only thing she was driving. Was that Swamp thing.
No, I want to not make fun, but I'm gonna. Not remotely sorry this week.
This is why we're rated TVF for filthy and fine.
That's true. We are. I know we were wanting to get into it yesterday, but you were having opinions about Heather Locklear, and I was really interested. She's not the greatest.
She sucks.
Like, not. Yeah, like the character, the acting, the whole thing was just almost off-putting. And again, that's why I say Daryl and Omar were a hell of a lot better characters. Like, I found them more interesting. I cared more about what the fuck happened to Daryl's mom's station wagon than whether or not Abby's going to get away from the fucking racist moonshiners, which was stupid as shit.
Right.
Where is this taking place? Because, like, I was making a hell of a lot of Florida jokes, and this could also be like Louisiana too. I don't know.
Born in the Bayou. I want to say I didn't really check to see where it was shot on location at. I would almost assume back to the Carolinas again.
Oh, that's right. That's where it was in the more okay.
Well, that's where they shot like all of the Swamp Thing project.
This guy here, like, I could have swore he was Florida Man. Like, this is the guy that everyone's talking about. Fucking, what was it? His cousin had the some sort of tabernacle and rib shack. I'm just kind of like, oh, I would have never thought to put those two things together, but far out.
You're right. What do you think a lot of the casting in this? I know we've mentioned a couple here and there, but overall,
golly, you know, I liked it. There was, with the exception of Abby, the whole Heather thing, I liked everybody in this. They were all pretty interesting. Dick got to do a lot more, which is probably one of the reasons why I like this one so much.
Yeah.
In the first movie, his speech is almost like Frankenstein. He's putting forth an effort to get his words out and to articulate what he's thinking and feeling. And he only has his eyes to display emotion, whereas now Dick has like his full eye control, can talk, has facial expressions. So, I mean, he got to do a little bit more there, and I enjoyed seeing him do that. And I think that's what we're going to see a lot more of when we get to the TV show.
Yeah, because they used largely the same suit in the show. I'm pretty sure they bought it after this movie, or they kept it in storage or something. But it rolled right into the TV show.
All you needed to do was just really water it like once a week, because I mean, it looked really cool.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with the outfit in this one. In the first one, I was just like, oh god, that looks so bad. But
it
to
was.
Their credit, they had a way more limited budget than this.
Yeah, certainly less than $4 million. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was it was not $4 million. And I put this picture up here just to show the detail. It's like,
yeah,
they really did make him look like a marshy mess. Like, he's all sticks, leaves, moss, mud. It was a lot of fun until you get to see him take a piece off of his pecker and eat it. Beyond that part, it was perfect. And if what you said is true about the suit, that makes total sense. I really like that, because why waste it? It was beautiful.
Oh yeah, and it's less work to throw in it. Like, if you're going to go right into a TV show within a couple of years, might as well just reuse what you can, save some money, and focus on putting out as good of a show as you can at the time. And if I remember right, like, the first season is really good. I don't remember like the later couple seasons after that,
but to my knowledge, it was always I'd always heard it was really good, and I've only seen bits and pieces of it here and there, and I don't remember ever being bored watching it.
No, I remember the first season very well, and then I remember bits and pieces after that. So I'd have to rewatch it again, though. There's too much I just don't remember.
Fair enough. I'd like it if there was more the mutations like we see in this one. They don't need to be as exotic as they are in the 2019 series, but just like the big rubber monsters on this, the creatures.
Yeah,
I'm here for it. Absolutely here for it. That's what I wish the 2019 series would have had more of, and I think it could have.
Yeah.
Had WB not been a bunch of cack-knackers.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. That's all you could really say about them politely without just being like, I hate that series, that damn company, they suck. They ruin everything beautiful.
We could go off on many tangents in relation to that.
And that was before the current regime.
Exactly. It's been like that since like the early 2000s when it was like AOL Time Warner.
Oh, golly, right? That was horrible. Like,
That's when they got
movie
rid
had
of wrestling and they got Ted kicked out and everything.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah, he got fired from his own company. Gee, I wonder if that could happen these days. I will avoid
I don't know.
naming several different companies that should really evaluate their leadership, but just saying.
Disney, Warner Brothers,
Lucasfilm,
WWE,
Marvel, DC, yeah.
Sony. Well, that's pretty much all of them.
Yeah, I guess we did list them all.
Now,
let's complete this set. Let's get rid of everybody. No.
Everybody. Universal, you've always sucked, so you've kept that consistency throughout the years. We appreciate that. Universal really has, though. It's like they shit on everything that's made them popular.
Shit, they ruined the Mummy movies.
That's what I'm talking about. They never wanted to make horror films. Carl Laemmle Sr. was like so opposed to them, thought they were disgusting and stupid. Kind of like the same thing you got in the 70s and 80s. Laemmle Jr. wanted to make Dracula because he'd seen the play and thought it was so goddamn good that I think he went around his dad's head to have it made. And it worked out, made a ton of money. And Laemmle Sr. went, oh, we're going to make all these wonderful movies to scare kids. It's like,
yeah,
pretty much. More money.
Cha-ching.
Yeah, so that's the story of Universal and how they made their monsters. And then they shit on them again. What, it was 2001 when they did Van Helsing and like screwed everything up.
See, I kind of like the movie, but I kind of don't at the same time. I have very mixed feelings about that Van Helsing movie with Hugh Jackman and Kate Beckinsale.
I hated it. Absolutely hated it. I walked out of there being more confused than what I came out of walking out with The Mummy. Like I could watch The Mummy more than comfortably now, but the first time I saw it, I was like, "What is this crap?"
I like.
I kept asking myself that throughout Van Helsing, like, okay, I'm digging on Mr. Hyde here, and Wolverine's always cool, but what's with the rest of this bullshit? Why do we have Glam Dracula, poet fucking Frankenstein? It's like, this all sucks. It sucks. It has nothing to do with the originals. But apparently it wasn't supposed to. It just supposed to be like the rock version of Wolverine, goth version of Wolverine. Steampunk goth version. Yeah, Gotharine. That's the big 0 point for this episode. Otherwise, we haven't straight off enough.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
I always do.
I bring the distractions, goddammit.
Well, I had a question for you, good sir. What did you think about some of the costumes in this? For me, I thought the prison security outfits for the security guards was a very interesting choice of costume design. Not to mention, a lot of the women in this movie did not like to wear bras.
No, they did not. And you know what? It was, I'm sure, hot and humid, and you don't really necessarily want to be wearing all those uncomfortable things.
Not wanting to wear clothes. Hey, that's okay too.
Yeah, I mean, some of the attire was a general choice. Where I've got more of them. Here's one.
Well, this is not a typical Wynorski film where you tend to get a lot of boobage.
Yes, I didn't realize exactly who he was at first, and I had to look it up. And I'm like, oh, the guy that made Munchie. and
And
Munchie
Chopping Mall.
Returns. Chopping Mall was a good movie, I thought.
We will eventually get to that one.
Yeah. And what, Critters 2, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. So it's like I have
Critters 2 is
nothing against
badass, dude.
Yeah, like I love that fucking movie. I love
Definitely
this movie.
want to cover those too at some point.
Oh, there's not a whole lot you want to cover terribly much in this movie.
Yep, we're past the runtime. I'm kidding. Although I'll say the
Yeah.
third act of Return of Swamp Thing felt like they were definitely doing some padding for probably about 5 to 7 minutes, just so they could get to the ultimate showdown in the end. Because Swamp Thing's running back and forth between the freaking arcane house, escaping, going back, escaping, going back.
And doing a lot of jogging. Like, did you catch that? He did a lot of running in this. It's like he could move. He could be any plant, like the spirit of the swamp. But he's like going for a stroll and like dodging people left and right, which was great.
When they blew his ass up, he ended up floating in to the mansion in the water. And he couldn't do that like another 2 or 3 times. Like, if you did it once, you could repeat it again, bro.
You would think. I don't know. I mean, that part was kind of cool. It reminded me a bit of the bathtub scene from Ghostbusters 2.
Oh, yeah.
But with more boogies.
With more boogies.
And then he just kind of like pops out of the bathtub like, witness me!
Behold, Swamp Thing! I have arisen between the 2 cherubs, cloud and gold.
Kinda, but I mean, at least this looked cool. Like, I love the slime hair, the goop coming from the hands as the fingers are starting to grow out. And I know the little digit things messed with you in the first movie, but it looked really cool in this one.
Yeah, this didn't bother me like at all. I actually thought like when they did introduce some of the more horrific aspects of Swamp Thing, it was pretty good. It's like you easily could have flipped this movie into something a lot more hard and not so PG-13. You could have taken some of the cheese out. Could have gotten a better actress than Heather. You could have done a few things in this movie could have been very, very different. But like going up against Batman like a month later, like, goddamn, you had to pick one or the other, and they probably didn't want competition with Batman, so they're probably telling Jim, hey, you only get $4 million, keep the budget down, just keep it silly. PG-13, no boobs, go.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, damn, bro.
And they made sure of it, too. Like, there was no, ooh, could that be part of the movie? No, like, they made darn sure that, like, nope, that's a seam right there.
Pretty much.
They were pretty good on it. The only thing that they let slip was one moment with Miss Poinsettia. And that was this moment here. If you look
you didn't do
close,
this picture. To our audio listeners, you have got to come back and check out this timestamp. Notice this timestamp. Come to our YouTube and check out the timestamp because I am not going to describe this.
51 minutes and 24 seconds, give or take.
Pay attention because when I edit, I cut out a couple minutes at the beginning before we get started. So that might not.
Sorry.
So don't listen to them. Just pay attention to the timestamp on your podcast when you listen to this audio version only.
That's true. That's true.
YouTubers, you get this basically in the next couple of days.
So a couple of things going to the ending and joking all aside. So I crack a joke about it here, but this was like the first really interesting part of the ending. Like Mr. Gunn coming at Swamp Thing with a chainsaw. Smartest thing you'd see any of the bad guys do to the date. And it just unceremoniously, he gets tossed into like chemicals, like yeet. There was nothing to it whatsoever. Other than that look right there looking sick as shit.
Nobody tosses a gun.
Yeah. And then, you know, you'd figure there's going to be another like showdown with Arcane. There's absolutely nothing. Like
He's
he
just
blows up in the house, chilling.
it's like some G modeling shoot. He's like, I'm just gonna sit here, lie down, smile. I'm gonna turn to the camera and look so fucking badass as I don't die off screen.
Yeah, and Swamp Thing is sitting there staring at him like hatefully. Dick, you could tell, like had venom in his eyes for whatever he was.
For once in this movie, he was exuding anger.
Yeah, not disappointment as Swamp Thing would in most humans, but actual anger and spite towards Arcane. And he was
Pretty
doing
much.
a good job, and Arcane did nothing but just like sit there, like wasn't even screaming that his legs were horribly crushed under that iron door. Or that Dr. Rochelle came fucking jumping on the door, crushing his legs that much further.
Oh my god.
Now, I wanted to edit the top of his head out, but you know, I mean, if I can get a penis on the show, I'm gonna get a penis on the show. The only thing that made this cheesy, they gave it one moment of exposition of it accelerating his muscles, his cognizance, and everything else, but that it could give you an enormous skull.
Certainly didn't help with his intelligence level.
No, it made him dumber.
Oh god,
he
with the
still had asthma.
thing. Oh Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there went your credibility with the monster. Right there. Because he fucking chucks it out of anger too.
I can't, like, that asthma thing like was completely ridiculous because every time he did it, he never wrapped his lips around the thing. It was just he brought it near his mouth and went it's like that is not how that works. It's just not how that works. Like anybody paying attention would be like, okay, I guess they didn't care enough about details in this movie, so why should I care about the rest of the movie? Just sit back and enjoy and have popcorn.
More. Yes. But it's like sometimes it looked like Jim Carrey or he's trying to spray the Banaka in his mouth, but it was going out the other direction. Kind of looked like that. So, like,
I mean, I don't hate the movie for not being detailed or anything. I'm just saying, like, if you're trying to look at this movie in a serious way, don't. You'll just get upset. You'll get mad. Just understand going in. This is pure cheese. Just go with it.
It is pure cheese.
Hell,
to a large degree.
Did a copy on this thing.
Yes. Did you get around to watching that yesterday?
I did not. I did not have enough time.
Oh, they did a pretty damn good job. I didn't get to see the whole thing the first time I got to sit and watch it last year. So this time it was kind of a treat listening to what they were talking about. Like, were the jokes the same? Not a lot of them were. Some of them were pretty on the money, like with the asthmatic doctor. Like, oh yeah, I don't remember exactly what the riff was. I'm not going to try. But they weren't kind to it, and they didn't need to be in certain parts, like Dr. Rochelle's asthma.
All right.
Anyway, but they did a good job. It was worth it. I do recommend it. They edited out some. They didn't need to edit it other than just for time. There's nothing wrong with the movie. No boobs, like you said. So,
yeah, you're not really missing too terribly much. They probably cut out some of the like slower paced things, like Swamp Thing running. Easily, there goes 5 minutes out of this movie. All the shots of him
running, shooting the guys at the beginning that are trying to find a place to pee in the swamp. Which
oh god, yeah, that
why
took
are you
about like 3 minutes too long. So cut that. Like some editing could have shortened this up to like an hour and 20-minute movie.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with the duration because again, I enjoy it.
I don't
like
either.
I said last week. I'm also the guy that's like, well, I don't mind the 3-hour raw. I didn't need the substance in this one just because I guess the flashy lights, the explosions, and the monsters were pretty enough.
Yeah. For what
Doesn't
we did
say
get,
great
it was
things about
very
him.
pretty, at least so. And enjoyable. Just sit back,
Yeah.
enjoy. It's a popcorn movie.
Now I remember what I was going to say as far as its campiness and cheesiness. The score was very Enya for the time.
I'd say so.
Very native pan flute type deal. Like they were trying to make a statement about the environment. And you're just kind of like, okay, this is getting a little played out, because then they turned it into like some more badass superhero music from there. It was very jarring. You know.
Any last thoughts, Kev?
Well, the only thing I was going to end off with, just going off again with the gross plant boyfriend thing, is they all lived happily ever after until Alec found out that she gave him the plant papillomavirus and a nasty case of the crabgrass.
Might want to get a flamethrower next time, buddy.
Yes. No, kidding aside, butane torch. That's how they get rid of Jason Woodrue in the fucking Batman cartoon.
Yep, pretty much.
Which I didn't really realize. Woodrue really did make Poison Ivy. I didn't realize that until recently.
Oh,
yeah. But anyway, no, this is a good flick. I know we've said that a lot. It's cheesy as hell. There's a lot to not like about it. So don't go into this with any expectations that you're going to see some amazing shit. You're going to see some really cheesy but fun things. If you could laugh at it, you're going to enjoy this movie. It's going to be worth your time watching it, if not worth the money you pay to buy it, if you do.
Yeah, there's definitely an audience for this film, especially on home video. That's probably where it made the most money, not theatrically, of course, but throughout the years on home video, VHS tapes. Hey, this was a video hit, back in the day. I don't know numbers or anything, but otherwise, why would even people put this out on a nice edition Blu-ray and people buy it? Like, it's hard to even get the slipcover nowadays for some of these titles. So, I mean, it's a fun movie. I had a great time with it. Yeah, you could poke your holes through it. There's enough that you could run right through, but acting's fine for the most part. Couple people notwithstanding. Heather. But, the story is there. It's fine. It's fun. You could just sit back, have a good time. It's all good. And take heed. The action scenes are fun. The shooting is goofy, but it's well shot and it's well set up, and it delivers what it promises. It does not over deliver. It gives you a fun time. That's always out for. It was never going to compete with Batman. So this is what we got. It was a fun time, and I want to say thank you all you screamers for checking out Return of Swamp Thing with Jeff and Kev. Please be sure to hit that like button down below. Comment. Do you have any thoughts about Return of Swamp Thing? We'd love to hear them. And be sure to hit that subscribe button and the little bell notification so you can stay tuned to all of our video content coming out. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you all next time. Make sure you check us out on all of our social media platforms. We got Facebook, Twitter. We are at Suns and Shadows. We're also on Instagram at Suns and Shadows Cast. We are at SunsAndShadows.com. Thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you down the road.